All right, record buttons hit. As we're going through everything, all I ask is if you do have a question about a specific section or anything that we are going through, just hit that little emoji up there that says raise. That way I know you have a question. Once I'm done talking, I'll call on you or whatever, and you ask your question so we can get through it. I just ask, don't interrupt me. I know some people get a lot of questions. They're like, "Oh, I gotta get this question out." But just for sake of organization and sake of time, we'll try to keep this pretty organized and straightforward. If I answer your question or whatever, just click that raise button again to take it off, so I'm not continuously calling on you for the questions and stuff. Um, so the first thing that we're going to talk about, and I'll share my screen as we go through things, is just the big game brochure, right? So Colorado publishes in February every year the big game brochure. And that big game brochure covers hunting for elk, deer, bear, antelope, and moose. And then they have a separate brochure for mountain lion, turkey, and what they call their trophy animals of bighorn sheep and goat. Um, so what we're going to cover, and I think what most people are here to talk about, is probably elk hunting, right? But as we go through the application process for the draw, I'll pull my account up. If you don't already have a Colorado Parks and Wildlife account, I suggest you get it right now as I'm talking and going through some stuff. That way you can just follow along with me if you want to apply for a preference point, or if there's another unit that you want to hunt as a do-it-yourself or with another outfitter or whatever, we can actually put in for that and you can go for that draw. So currently, we are in the last year of what Colorado calls the 5-year structured plan. So what that means is Colorado does all their big game, big changes to laws and regulations in 5-year blocks. 1 second. So we're in that final year for that 5-year block. So starting in fall of 2022, the Game Commission started meeting and saying, hey, these are kind of the topics that we want to discuss and possibly change. And then all of 2023, they had public meetings and public announcements and everything talking about some big rule changes that are coming up for the next block of 5-year structured plan for Colorado, which starts in 2025. I will tell you right now that some of the big changes they are talking about is going to an all draw, so no over the counter for archery, but maintaining a lower number of over the counter for second and third rifle. So if you're planning on coming out here to hunt next year or in that next 5-year block, just be advised that you may have to start building preference points to draw some of the units that used to be over the counter. The reason that they are doing that and looking at that is, one, 2022 was a bad year for winter. We had a lot of winter kill, especially in the northwestern part of the state, and then down pretty much along the Continental Divide and west. Second reason is just the influx because of COVID and social media. Everybody wants to come to Colorado and take a big bull with a bow. So we've seen a huge influx of people on the landscape. What that means is obviously it's a lot of pressure on the animals. So to reduce that pressure and everything, they're looking at just reducing the amount of tags or the amount of people on the landscape. So just be aware that, even though you may be coming out this year for an over-the-counter archery hunt, I highly recommend that we still put you in for preference points and you just start building those species preference points. Any questions on that? All right. So I'm going to share. All right, so what I have open right here, like I said, this is our big game brochure. Um, it's a really simple, easy regulation brochure to use, um, but there are some confusing things within the brochure. All right, and we're going to try to cover a lot of those before we dive into, the Q&A outfitter questions and everything. So if we scroll down, you got your table of contents on page A6 of the brochure. Um, and it's broken down. We have what's new, which we're going to cover, some general regulations, and we're going to dive into some more specific regulations off of the website for CPW. Just some general hunting information, some hunting laws, and then we're going to get into all the different species. I am not going to deep dive into stuff like hybrid draws. I'll briefly cover things with the weighted preference point for the trophy animals, things like that. If there are questions on specific ones like that, I mean, just shoot them to me or just ask them at the end. I'll stay on as long as you want to talk through that stuff. But I just don't, again, I don't want to waste too much of your time, but I want to give you enough knowledge to make you successful, even if you're coming to hunt with me or you're coming out to do it yourself. All right. So this is always good. What's new in 2023? Every year when they post the big game brochure, they always put out there like, hey, these are the things that have changed. These are the things to look at and everything. And then we also have at a glance important dates. So right now we're in this March 1st to April 4th deadline for important dates, right? So last Friday, the draw opened up, so you can start applying for the different species. Draw deadline will be April 4th by 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And then May 30th to June 1st, everything will be posted online. You'll get email notifications and everything. So something new that happened last year was they added this surrender deadline right here. So if you draw a tag, something comes up, you can't come out and hunt during that time. You have to June 5th to turn that tag back in with a full refund minus, I think it's the $8 application fee that you'd have to pay. And then they go through a secondary draw, and that's for all the tags that didn't get filled through the primary draw. They'll hold another draw, and that list will be posted. You can choose off that list. Once that secondary draw happens, follows kind of the same guidelines as what the primary draw does. So you have application deadline, results, surrender deadline, license payment. And then come August 1st, all of those leftover tags from the draws, plus all the over-the-counter tags, all go on sale. So those of you that are coming out for over-the-counter archery this year, August 1st is when you'll be able to purchase that tag. All right. Some of the season dates that you can look at, which I think I provided in one of the emails. So you can look at some of the different dates. Right now, for the next 5-year structured plan, they're not looking at changing too many of the dates. They're trying to keep that as simple as possible. Our archery dates always run September 2nd to September 30th, muzzleloader happening right in the smack center of that. And then followed by all species rifle tags, minus some of the special draws. Any questions so far? I'm throwing a plethora of information at you right now.
Hey, quick question if you got a second.
Yep, go ahead, Chris.
You were mentioning August 1st was for the over-the-counter tags.
Yes.
Is that something you can purchase online, or do you have to purchase it in the state, like when you
Nope.
get there?
Nope, great question. You can purchase that online, and you can actually choose if you want that tag sent to you, or if you want to pick that tag up at a licensing agency. So our licensing agencies, there's gun stores, Walmart, things like that, and everything. So you have that choice to either have it mailed to you or to pick it up.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. So when we get into applying for the tags, and once we get in there, we'll go over this again, but just to put this at the forefront of your brain. Once we apply for licenses or you purchase a license, you must have a qualifying license. And that qualifying license could be as easy as a fishing license or a small game license or something like that. They can't just allow you, they won't allow you just to buy an elk tag. All right, you have to have some type of qualifying license to apply for any big game draws. Once you do buy, for instance, your over the counter archery tag, that automatically comes with a fishing license on there. I do have private land leases out where we're at. So if you are interested in some private land draws, we can definitely talk about that offline or later on this week. We don't get a whole lot of them just because there's just not a whole lot of licenses for those draws. So the ones that do get them are pretty fortunate, and they're typically when we start seeing a lot of elk on those ranches is pretty late season. So you're looking at fourth rifle draw or the late season December draw for that. If we look over here on the right, right here, where it says list A, B, and C. All right, this is probably one of the most confusing things besides a weighted preference point that people have an issue with. So every species in Colorado is licensed or put under a category of A, B, or C. And so whenever you draw a tag with for that specific species, you're allowed one A tag, one B tag, and as many C tags as you want. Or you're allowed two B tags and as many C tags as you want. So how is that determined? A lot of it is determined by our herd counts, the amount of animals on the landscape in a game management unit, the pressure they see, the matter of take, the amount of draw numbers for that matter of take in a GMU. So there's a lot of nuances involved, and a lot of people smarter than I am that are out there, doing the ecological surveys and the biological surveys and everything to figure out what class species that would be. Now, the reason this is important is because when we start going into putting in for draws, you can really game it out and be able to pull in 3 elk tags in a year, or multiple deer tags in a year, multiple bear tags in a year. You just have to be smart on how you put your draws in, or if you're buying over the counter or anything like that. Understand that 100% of the over the counter either sex um, licenses, whether it's archery or rifle, are always going to be an A tag. So planning purposes, if you come out here for an archery hunt, you put in for that or that over the counter, it's an A tag. Understand that you're not going to be able to get another A tag for that species for the rest of the season, but you can get a B tag or multiple C tags. Is there any confusion on that? All right, great. So let's talk about preference points, weighted preference points, and then bonus points. So there's two main systems in the U.S. that most states use, right? You use a preference point system or a bonus point system. Bonus point system is probably one of the easiest to understand. It's just you put in for a draw, You don't draw, you get a bonus point. So next year when you put in for a draw, you have two chances. You have that year's point, and then you have your bonus point that you got from the previous year where you didn't draw. And you just keep adding bonus points as you do not draw. Once you do draw, all your bonus points go away and you go back to 0. Preference points are similar to the fact that when you put in for a draw, you don't draw, you gain a preference point, or you can buy a preference point if you don't want to put in for a draw. The difference between the bonus point and preference points comes to how it's drawn and how it's done up. So what the smart people will do is they'll look at a GMU and they'll say, we can take this many of this species off the landscape and still have a manageable herd or sustainable herd on the landscape. And so they're going to say, let's say it's 100 animals. We can take 100 elk off this GMU. Then they're going to look at all the preference points holders that have put in for that GMU, and they're just going to start counting back from 100. And they're going to say, okay, we can get to 100 people with everybody that has a preference point of 22 or higher. And so they're going to make the cutoff for that unit 22 preference points. So everybody that has 22 preference points or higher is going to draw out of those 100. So once it comes to draw season, that happens. Again, in Colorado, you can turn them in. If they do get turned in, it goes to the secondary draw. They relook at it in that same way. And then they draw through that way. And then again, if nobody draws still and there's leftovers, then it will go to that leftover or that over-the-counter purchase. Is everybody clear on the preference point system? All right. So weighted preference points. We use weighted preference points again for what we consider, some of our big trophy animals, which is moose, our bighorn sheep, and our mountain goat. So what happens with a weighted preference point, and it's super confusing, is to even be considered for a draw, you must have 3 regular preference points. So once you hit 3 preference points, then you can be put in for the draw. And how the weighted preference point works is everybody that puts in for the draw after 3 preference points is given a random application 6-digit number. And then that's inverted and flipped around. So if mine was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's going to reverse to 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That way they say there's no advantage of who puts in an application first or anything like that. So once that's inverted, all these random people get together and they lay out a code of 0 through 9. And then they randomly choose numbers to assign that 0 through 9. So they pull out a number and say it's 3. They'll put that 3 under the 0. And they pull out a 7, they'll put that under the 1, and so on and so forth. And then with those numbers, they're going to look at your application number that was assigned to you. And then through that little cipher code, you're going to get a new number. You're going to take that new number then, and they're going to divide it by how many weighted preference points that you get. Because after 3 preference points, every year you don't draw, you get a weighted preference point. So for example, I think I'm at 11 weighted preference points for moose. So they'll take my new application number through all the different little codes they did. They'll divide that by 11. Plus 1, I'm sorry, because you're always going to get a plus 1. They have to put the plus 1 in there for those of individuals who don't have a weighted preference point yet, so it's divided by 1. So I'll get it divided 11 plus 1, and that'll give me a new number. And then whatever number that is, then they'll rack and stack those numbers. Obviously, the lowest number on the list will draw first, and then they just go down the list. Now, who's confused by that? Because I get confused every time I have to deal with it. With that weighted preference point system for moose, sheep, and goat. Whatever you do, if you're putting in for it, after you have 3 preference points, don't put in for another preference point. Because what that does is that just adds to your preference point. It's not adding to your weighted preference point total. Does that make sense? So what happens with a lot of people is they don't, they'll get to their 3 preference points and they say, I can't hunt this year. So I'm just going to put in for another preference point. Well, that just brings their preference point up to 4. It does nothing for their total when it goes to all the different draws, because all they're doing is counting weighted preference points at that time. So always put in after 3 preference points for a unit to hunt, and that'll just build your weighted preference point system then. Questions on that? I know it's super confusing, guys. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so I follow loosely what you're saying. It is super confusing, but
Yeah.
it's all calculated for you. So basically, bottom line is get to 3 preference points, and then you should be good as long as you continue to put in for it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I feel like that'll be easy for me to follow, because the math on that is insanity. That's like VA math.
Yeah, 100%. It's super confusing. And it's just like I said, it's you get your application number, then they invert the application number, and then you decipher code to convert your application number again, and then you divide by your weighted preference points plus 1, and then that's your draw number, I guess we could call it. So yeah, you're spot on, Chris. Biggest takeaway from this, guys, once you hit 3 preference points for moose, sheep, or goat, always put in for a unit. All right, because that'll just build your weighted preference points after that. All right. So again, we talked about qualifying licenses, the important dates here, and these can be downloaded, and I'll start dropping some links and stuff into the chat for all the brochures and everything else. One of the big changes, actually, let's go back up here to page 1. One of the big changes that they did talk about, I thought it was up here. Oh, that's why I'm in the wrong. You guys should have said something on the 2023 brochure. Not bad.
Sorry, man. I have my brochure in front of me. I'm looking at yours, but I'm looking.
Yeah, no, I was like, that's a last year change.
Yeah, sorry about that. I would have noticed it, but I was looking more down, and then
yeah. As you can see, they keep the same format of everything. So there we go. So one of the big changes is right here that they did for 2024. And that's where we used to have 65% of the tag allocation used to go to residents and 35 for non-residents. It did change that to 75 and 25. All right, that's been one of the huge complaints from resident hunters is, oh, we have too many non-residents coming into our state and hunting and everything else. And I get it. Everybody wants to, have the opportunity to hunt in their home state. But I'm one of those weird guys who says, yeah, but I'm only spending $56 on an elk tag. It's the non-residents that come in here and spend $712 on an elk tag that are paying for the conservation and keeping our elk herds healthy and safe and paying our CPW officers and everything else. So, but I'm one voice, and I can't win them all. One of the other changes right here, and that's just like we talked about in the 2022 winter. We had a lot of winter kills, so a lot of those units they did cut back over the counter tags, and they did cut back draw tags and everything for those units. So hopefully those herds could bounce back a little bit. Everything else, just look through, some of these changes. A lot of it, won't have a huge effect on anything that you guys are trying to do or what we're going to do if you're hunting with us and everything. All right. Let's jump to, we did the important dates. They probably changed a little bit from my 2023 one I had up. Again, I apologize for that, but not big. April 2nd looks like it's the draw deadline. August 6th, I think it was, to buy. August 6th to buy your over-the-counter tags. All right, licensing fees, just look over that. Just know outfitters, we don't, buy your tags for you or anything like that. You do have to pay, for your tags yourself. It is your responsibility to ensure that you do have the proper tags. Understand that we will make sure that, you have everything signed and you have the proper stuff with you. But if you are in violation of any laws within Colorado, that does not fall on the outfitter. All right. And we're going to cover some of those laws and everything and some of the top violations that we do see out here. Hunter education. So Colorado is pretty strict on carrying your hunter education card. I know most states now have gone to digital. You can just show it to you on your phone. They like for you to have it on you at all times, unless you take your hunter education card with an ID into an actual CPW office, and then they'll verify it. Once they verify it, they'll put a little code inside your account. And then once your licenses are printed off, you'll have a little V next to your hunter education. That means that you have been verified by an officer and you do not have to carry a hunter education card with you in the field. You good,
Sorry,
Chris?
man. I let it in for a second, man. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good, man. We talked about preference points and everything. So yeah, let's go over to the hunt codes. So when we get into applying for the draw, all right, you're going to see a hunt code, and every letter number on there stands for something, right? So typically the first letter is going to be the species, the first letter of your species. So D for deer, E for elk, B for bear, A for antelope, M for moose, S for sheep, G for goat, so on and so forth. The second letter here in your code is for the sex of the species. So it's going to be M for male, F for female, or E for either sex. The next three letters are your game management unit, or GMU. All right, so it's the unit that it's valid in, but understand that there are some units or some codes for GMUs that are good for multiple units. So if you look on the right-hand side here, the Mountain Zircle Wilderness Area, all right, the code is going to be 014, but as you can see, it's good for units 14, 16, and 161. All right. The fourth entry here is going to tell you what season it is. All right. So whether it's going to be early season 1, it's going to be, second season, third season, fourth season, and then the last letter is the matter of take or method of take, right? So A for archery, M for muzzleloader, R for rifle. And then you'll see sometimes you'll see an X for season choice. And you'll see that a lot with moose licenses. So if you're, happen to draw a moose tag, typically you can hunt them in archery season, hunt them in muzzleloader season, hunt them in rifle season. You just have to hunt them with that matter of take in the season or a lesser matter of take. So for example, if you're in rifle season and you want to hunt them with archery equipment, you can do that, but you can't hunt in archery season with a rifle. So that's your hunt code. All right. And we're going to dive deep into those hunt codes as we start filling it out and everything. And like I said, I highly recommend, as we do this and we dive into this and we start filling out draws and everything, put in for a preference point. You never know, when you're going to come back out here and want to hunt again. And it's good just to have that pool of preference points is to open up some more choices for you. Big game species identification, you guys are probably chuckling right now, but I don't know how many times it happens where, somebody shoots a moose thinking it was an elk, or, somebody shoots a mule deer thinking it was a white-tailed deer. So just, get online if you're truly not familiar, get online, look at the differences between all the different animals. Make sure that, you're not shooting an outfitter's mule, you're shooting an elk, things like that. Archery season, hunter orange, not required, recommended. We did, I think it was last year, 2 years ago, we did have an archery hunter shot by a muzzleloader hunter here in Colorado. So it does happen. The great thing is, if you're hunting with us, we're going to make sure that you do identify what you're shooting at before you pull the trigger or release an arrow on that. But hunter orange is required, approximately 500 square inches during any type of rifle seasons or shotgun seasons, except for spring turkey. All right, we're going to come down here. All right, some of the laws that we're going to get into. So when we talk about rifles, there are some minimum and maximums, for weapons lengths and grains of rounds, which most hunting rifles you're not going to have an issue with. Most hunting rounds are going to be well over the recommended or the law for Colorado. One thing or one big violation that we do see during rifle seasons is the use of computer scopes. And I mean, I own one. They're great, but they're not authorized or illegal here in the state of Colorado. Some of those scopes are like the Swarovski DS1. And what these scopes do is, you enter ballistic data into an app, you sync that with the scope. The scope has a laser rangefinder in it. You shoot the laser rangefinder to your target. That scope will take your altitude, barometer, pressure, wind speed, all the stuff that's, computerized inside that scope. And then it adjusts your point of aim for you. So Colorado has made those illegal for various reasons. So if you do own one and you are coming out here, again, I'm telling you now they're illegal. If you still choose that you say you're going to hunt with it, I will not take you out to hunt. And if you're issued a citation, that's on you, not on the outfitter. For muzzleloaders, one of the big things that we see is, there's inline muzzleloaders, use of those. We see wrong size calibers, and then we also see scopes or sighting devices used on muzzleloaders, which is illegal. Colorado is a true muzzleloader state, where you're hunting like the old trappers back in the day. Bows, we've started to relax a little bit on our archery laws. It used to be up until I believe last year, you had to have a let off of 80%. Now there's no regulation on let off on your archery equipment. You couldn't have lighted nocks. Now you can have lighted nocks. Draw weight is a big thing. Ensure that you have 35 pounds or more. The big thing we're seeing now with archery equipment is the new Garmin and Burris sights that are computerized, that kind of the same thing as the Swarovski sight that I was talking about for a scope. Those are still illegal in Colorado. So if you do have your equipment set up with that type of sight, again, I'm letting you know now, it's illegal. If you still choose to hunt with it, you won't choose to hunt, or you won't hunt with us. And if you're issued a citation, that's on you. All right. Crossbows. So crossbows are legal here in the state of Colorado. Only by going through the certification process through a Colorado doctor. All right. So if you have a disability screening from another state that says you are authorized to use a crossbow for hunting, that is not legal in the state of Colorado. If you do go to the CPW website, they do have the forms that you have to fill out. You have to send those to a authorized doctor here in Colorado. They will review that and they will say yay or nay to give you a crossbow certificate for the state of Colorado. All right. Any questions on those laws? All right. All right, so here we go. Top 10 most common hunting violations in Colorado. All right. And you can look through these. I won't dive too deep into these, but we'll just talk about a quick few of them. Trespassing. So Colorado, everybody knows what's going on in the West with the corner crossing stuff and everything else. Corner crossing is not allowed in the state of Colorado. Colorado is a permission state, which means that you must have written permission to go on any type of private land to hunt, even if it isn't marked. All right. So just understand that. If everybody that is hunting with me, you guys had read through the contract and everything, which kind of falls in line with number 2, failing to make a reasonable attempt to track and kill your animals. So we do, with the outfit, have a wound policy. If you do wound an animal, you do draw blood, we will make a amazing attempt to find that animal. If we do not find that animal, we do consider your tag punched. We don't need to be out there on the landscape wounding and injuring multiple animals. It just doesn't make sense. And it's not just good practice and hunting ethics. A couple of the other ones is not taking the amount of proper meat, so wanton waste of the animal. In Colorado, you must take all 4 quarters, backstrap, inner tenderloins. Everything else you can leave if you want, but we'll definitely take neck meat, we'll take rib meat, we'll take everything off that animal. Obviously, we'll make sure that you're shooting the right animal. We're going to make sure that you have the proper license. Colorado is a evidence of sex state, so we will maintain evidence of sex on the meat through transportation to final destination. Understand that the head and antlers is not proof or evidence of sex. We won't carry loaded weapons anywhere. And that's about it on the big ones right there. Any questions on those laws or anything up to this point? And you guys are making this too easy.
This is all like common sense stuff, man. Just be ethical hunter, and you're gonna guide through it. So I appreciate all the information. This is really good. Thank you.
You bet, man. And that's what I'm here for, right? To make sure that you guys have a great hunt and we do it proper and ethical and make sure nobody's injured out there on the landscape. All right, that's all basic information. So we're gonna jump right into some applying for some animals. All right, and go ahead and take the time. We have lots of time before some of these hunts kick off. Go through each species regulations. There might be certain things with like antler restrictions and things like that, and it's all based off of GMUs and grouped together units and things like that. So go through it and hit me up anytime if a question comes up and you're like, what is this? What does this mean? I'm typically available 24/7 for any questions. All right, so we're gonna jump over to, actually, I'm gonna drop this into the chat real quick. So this link right here is the brochures link. This is going to be all your brochures and regulations and everything. So if you want to download any of the brochures and have them on your computer, on your phone, whatever, that's where you can download them from right there. This in here. So this is the full-blown regulations page for CPW. And you see in the Big Game Brochure, they cover some of the major regulations, but it's good to get in there and dig deep into that stuff and understand some of the other regulations that are out there. Especially if you're looking at hunting some different species of what we're going to talk about. All right, so we're at the main page right here, cpw.state.co.us. Let me know if you're following along, if you're there or not. I'll drop that in there too. I want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to put it in for at least a preference point for the species that we're looking at. All right, so we're just going to go to buy and apply. Buy big game license. Old man, I'm a resident. All right, so you put that in there or come over here to sign in or create account. All right. So you can sign in using multiple different identifications, however you signed up for. Back in the day, I used my military ID. Password. If I remember it, it's typically on my other computer, but I did. All right, then it's going to bring you to confirming your details. All right, so yep, that's me. There's my date of birth. There's my CPW number for my license, personal information, address, everything. Down here, yep, everything looks good. I'm gonna confirm my details. And if I'm going too fast, please just say, hey, Mitch, stop. All right, if you're not keeping up. All right. All right, so we're gonna come to our home page on the left-hand side. Here's all the license and draws I've put in for, all the things I've done. My preference points are up here, profile, all that good stuff. All right. Now I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna buy a big game license. All right. So I'm gonna select my residency. So residency for Colorado is 6 months. So I can put in, whatever day, let's go 06/2020. And this will be verified obviously through my personal information that I put in back when I registered for account years ago. And it'll also be matched to make sure that I do have a Colorado license, driver's license, or ID, which makes me resident also. All right, so now it's just going to bring us to some basic information about the draw, the deadlines, surrender periods, and then here's all our species that we're going to draw for. All right. We won't talk too much about turkey. That spring draw has already happened, but the fall draw for turkey, I think, is in May, if I remember right. I don't have my turkey brochure next to me right now, so I apologize for that. But you can pull up that brochure and look at it. All right. So everybody, I'm sure, wants to put in for an elk point. So we're gonna go into elk here. 1 second. Let me let Chris back in. Chris, you good?
Yeah, sorry about that. Hit the wrong button.
No, you're good, brother. You're good. I just want to make sure I keep everybody in here and following along. All right, so everybody wants to do elk. Application license year 2024. Yep. So we're going to go in here. I am not applying as part of a group. All right. I like to hunt by myself. So I'm going to proceed with that. All right. So now it's going to pull up the choice codes, right? So this is what I was talking about for the hunt codes are your different species. And then up here it's going to give your elk point balance currently. Right? I burned some points a few years ago, so I'm only sitting at 3 points right now. And to be honest, I just don't get the chance to hunt that much anymore anyways, so I just kind of build points. So I think for John and Chris, you guys are coming out for archery. It's over the counter. So I would recommend that you guys just put in for a preference point. All right. So for preference points, if you're just putting in for a preference point, it's going to be the same code for every species, minus the first letter. So, because we talked about, the first letter is for your species, so E is for elk. So if I was putting in for a preference point, which that's all I'm going to do, that code is going to be E P 99999 P. All right, that's telling the system that for my first choice, first draw, all I want's a preference point. Now here's where you start gaming the system a little bit, right? And once you start hunting Colorado more, or you have an outfitter, or somebody out here that has been watching different units and everything, this is where I can gain a preference point, but I can still put in for some other tags and probably draw some elk tags. Because what happens is again, I'm telling the system for my first choice, I want a preference point. My second, third, and fourth choices, I'm actually going to put in for some units. Now, if I draw my second or third or fourth choice, because there's quotas or draw tags left over, that doesn't take away my preference point balance. because I told the system I wanted just a preference point first. So all the system is looking at is your first choice when it comes into getting a preference point or burning a preference point. Does that make sense? Any questions on that part? Go ahead, Chris.
Hey man, I'm sorry. My wife just came in and said something about something real quickly and dragged my attention. Like I'm not putting for elk. My first one's not going to be prep. I did write down the codes for all the other species, but for you haven't talked about the first rifle yet, have you?
No, no.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So again, I'm telling the system my first choice and really the only choice that matters in reference to preference points is all I want is a preference point. All right. And again, now I know different units, I know different seasons. So I know that late season rifle cow tag in unit 53, there's typically some leftover tags. So for my second choice, I'm going to put that code in. So again, I look at this code, right? E for elk, F, I'm telling a female or cow. 053 is the unit number. P5 is private land, and it's 5th season or what we call late season. And method of take is rifle. All right. So I know just from hunting this long out here that typically after first draw, there's some of these tags left over. So as my second draw, I've got a pretty good damn chance of drawing that tag, right? And I know that this is a B tag, right? So I'm not burning my A tag yet, all right? Now, I also know that the 4th rifle draw tag for private land, there's always about 50 to 60 of those tags left over also after all draws are done and it goes to over the counter. So for my third choice, I'm going to put that code in. All right. So again, we look at this code, elk, E for first number, or first part of the code. Second is E for either sex. Unit 53, telling the system private land, 4th rifle, or private land 4th season, method of take rifle. All right. So for me, I'm done with my elk. Right. I know that out of those 3 codes, I'm going to get a preference point because that's going to bring me to 4. I know that really good chance I'm going to draw that cow tag for late season. And I know I'm guaranteed pretty much, I would say a 99%, I'm going to draw that 4th rifle tag also. All right. So then when we go down here, we hit confirm choices. System's going to say, boom, there it is. Those are the dates. Are you good? Yep, I'm good. Add to cart. All right. And it brings you back to the home page. All right. Go ahead, Chris.
So for John and I,
Yep.
you're saying that all we should probably do is just do the first one for a preference point and confirm choices from there.
Yep.
Don't add the other ones.
No, those are mine personally. I put those on there as reference. But what I will tell you guys now, Chris, if you and John come out here and during archery season and you're like, man, I want to come back during a rifle season, and you guys are already talking about it, whether, and I'm not saying coming out with me or, but you guys just want to come out and do it yourself, look at some of those other units and put in for some of those other units. All right. And you don't, if you still want to think about it, or if you're, got a lot of questions after this, you want to talk to me, remember, we have till April 2nd to confirm your choices and your draws before the system shuts it off and they go into choosing.
Okay, gotcha. So just for purposes for tonight, that would be the one that you would do for a preference point, because him and I are just about guaranteed to get an over the counter archery.
Yep. Yeah. Over the counter archeries are unlimited.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. You bet. Any other questions on that? All right. So then we're going to go to, we took care of elk. So, black bear, we have a butt ton of black bear in this state right now. So again, not applying as part of a group. So I'm going to go in here. And again, this goes into knowing the region, knowing the dross, knowing things like that, to properly game the system, I guess, right? So I know for the last 2-3 years in Unit 53 during limited rifle bear season, which is all of September, there have been over 300 leftover draw tags, and it's a B tag. So I know there's no problem getting a bear tag, whether I put in for the draw for it or whether I just wait for them to go on sale over the counter. So again, for my bear, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just do a preference point. So P 99999 P. That's telling the system my first choice for the draw. I just want a preference point. Now, like I said, I know for a fact that bear tags, I'll jump to bear and I'll show you guys here. All right, so September Rifle Limited, September 2nd through the 30th, right here. All right, those are by draw only. All right, so I go down to Rifle Limited 53. All right, so this tag is good for Unit 53 and 63, September 2nd through the 30th. All right, that's the code, and it's a B tag, which means I can get 2 bear tags. All right, and the majority of your bear tags are going to be a B tag, and that's just because we just have way too many bear right now in Colorado. All right, so I'm going to take that code and I'm going to plug that in right here. All right, so that was B's already in there, E for either sex, unit code 53. All right, it's 01 for first. Right, 01. Just want to make sure. Yep, 01 for that September. All right, and that's telling the system now after my preference point, when it goes into secondary draw, if those tags are left over, that's what I want. All right, and I know it's going to be left over. I know for a fact. So I know I'm going to draw that tag. And on top of drawing that tag, I'm going to get a preference point, and I'm not going to burn my preference points either. All right. Now I'm going to confirm those choices. It's going to tell me what it is right here, dates and everything. We're going to add that to cart. All right. And again, it takes us back to the main page. Any questions so far? Is anybody confused on what we're kind of doing and how we're trying to game the system? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just want to confirm. So those choices you just made sound like the exact choices I should put for that first rifle, going in for the bear tag, right? So preference point first time, well, for the first line, second line for that first rifle. That's what I put there.
No. So for the bear, for their first rifle is at September limited
Oh.
draw season.
Okay.
So every season after that, Chris, so first, second, third, and fourth rifles of all the other species for bear is over the counter.
Got it.
So
Okay.
let me pull that up. All right. So over the counter licenses. All
Yeah.
right. So we're going to go down here and we're going to see 53 and 63.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's going to be your code right there. But it's an over the counter license. So you don't have to put in for it for a draw. We're just talking about draw licenses right now.
All right. Thanks, Mitch.
Yep. So when it comes around to what was it, August 6th or whatever it is, when they go on sale, you can go online and you can just type that in and purchase it online, or you can just wait till you get out here and then you can purchase it when you get out here.
Perfect, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. Any other questions so far?
Yeah, I got one quick question.
Yeah.
So for the preference point, when we try and put that in, it won't let us do it without having some sort of license for it.
Yep. That's the qualifying license I was talking about.
Right. So then, is that something you were saying that the fishing combo or the fishing license comes with the over-the-counter elk tag?
Yes, but you have to understand you can't buy that over-the-counter elk tag until August 6th. The draw closes April 2nd. So, yeah. So what I would do is pull the Big Game Brochure back up. Go up here. I just try to find or recommend you buy the cheapest qualifying license, which is typically just like a small game license. Or it might be the habitat one, two. Let's try to find it here. There we go. Qualifying license here. So it's on page 5 of the brochure.
Perfect. So any of those would be fine.
Yep.
Annual small game should be fine. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep. So again, just going down the list, right? So we're at desert bighorn sheep. I don't put in for because state of Colorado, you can either put in for Rocky Mountain or you can only put in for desert bighorn, either one. I'm not going to go after a desert bighorn until I draw my Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep tag. All right. So for moose, all right.
I don't see a rowdy in your contacts. To who?
All right, so for moose, same thing. You know, I have 3 preference points already. All right. I want my weighted preference point, so I'm actually going to put in for some units, right? Now, for you guys, if you're just putting in for the preference point to start building them out, again, simple code, M's there, it's P99999 and a P, all right? And that'll give you that preference point. All right. And then for myself, I have my list of units that I'm going to put in for and everything as I've already qualified with my 3 preference points, and I start building weighted preference points. All right. Again, we confirm choices. All right. I can't do another preference point now. The system has realized that. Used to did do that. They would let you just put preference points in and people would build preference points and not weighted points. So I'm glad the system now catches that. So it does say now, like, I have to put in for a GMU. all right, to do that. All right. And you'll do that same for mountain goat. All right, make sure that you get your preference point in there. Again, it doesn't change. P99999 and P. All right, that's going to be your preference point code for goat. Again, you'll confirm choices. It's not going to let me, obviously. And then you'll go through again. And then you'll do that same for your Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep. All right. Same again, P99999 and P. Right, and that's your preference point. Again, it's not going to let me, but it should confirm yours. And then add that to your cart. Easy system, right? For pronghorn, I think antelope or desert rats. Some people like hunting them. I build preference points up just to do it. They're cheap. But again, if you're looking to do an antelope hunt, you want to build preference points, or if you want to hunt a certain GMU, go ahead and put that stuff in there. I'm just doing a preference point. I'll confirm my choice. Tells me, yep, you're good. And I'm going to add that to cart. And then it's going to take me back again to the main page. All right. Any questions on putting in for the draw? Questions on how to read your hunt codes in the book? Anything like that? All right. Chris Harris. So you're looking to come out, you're trying to draw first rifle elk hunt, correct? Chris, you there? All right. All right, Chris, you'll just check the recording. But these are the codes that you're gonna put in for first rifle, if that's what you're trying to come out here for, and that's what you're trying to draw. So your code or first choice is gonna be E for elk, M for male, which was a bull tag, if that's what you're trying to take. Or if you want a cow, it's female tag. Unit 05301 for first season, method of take, R for rifle. And those are your dates, October 12th through the 16th for Unit 53. So that's what you need to put in for. Any questions on that or putting in for a draw? All right, again, John and Chris, you're coming out for archery. Just, hit me up right before the over-the-counter licenses go on sale, and I can walk you through what codes to put in and everything else for over-the-counter. Over-the-counter is super easy. If you look at the brochure and you come up here to these maps that we kind of passed, so this is your over-the-counter either sex archery, September 2nd through the 30th. It's a list A tag. This is the code right here that you're going to use whenever they go on sale to purchase it. All right, and you can see at the map, we're going to be out here in 53. All right, it is grayed out, which means it is an over-the-counter tag. Well, the great thing about that tag is good for all of these units that are in gray. All right, so you come out with me, we don't see anything, nothing's happening in 53. You're like, oh, I'm going to come back in a week. You can jump over to 63, 64, down to 65, over to 62. You can hunt all these areas in gray. All right. That's the great thing about that tag right there. And if you choose to ever do an over-the-counter rifle tag, same concept of this map right here. Questions so far? I know it's a lot of information, guys. So if you have any questions or you're just confused right now, please don't hesitate to ask. All right, so when you guys, start filling out your applications and everything on your own, and stuff, the great thing about Colorado is they'll post prior years draw results and hunting statistics for you to check, right? So drop this in the link here. That page right there, right? That's going to bring you to things to do with Hunt Big Game. Down here on the left-hand side, you scroll, you're going to see hunting statistics. Click on that. All right, it's going to bring you down here to all your different species for hunting statistics right here. All right. And right here is going to be your draw recap reports. It's going to tell you, walk you through everything. But so let's just look at elk hunting statistics, right? I'm going to click on that. All right. I'm going to look at my draw recap for 2023. I would click on that, and it's going to pull up a bunch of information. All right. And this is information on every unit, every season in Colorado. All right. You can see it's 1,075 pages. All right. What I sent you guys in that email was a breakdown of Unit 53 here. All right. So we're going to look at this just a little bit closer so you kind of understand kind of how to read these and everything. So when you start planning hunts on your own and do it yourself, you can look at all the different units and everything and see, okay, I need this many preference points to draw out, or I need, there's this many leftover tags after, all the 2 draws were done. So I don't even have to burn a preference point. I can just wait till it goes on sale over the counter and purchase it then. All right. So we're looking at this hunt code right here. Elk, either sex, Unit 53, private land, first rifle. All right. If you look over here on the left, right, they had 85 tags after the draws were done. All right, only 70 were drawn, which means they had 15 leftover tags that went on the over-the-counter or leftover sale. All right. We come down here to our pre-draw applicants. Obviously, they didn't draw them all, so we can probably figure out that, yep, everybody probably drew, right? So we look over here, 16 applicants with 0 preference points resident put in for it, 22 non-residents put in for it as their choice 1. 1 resident with 1 preference point, 3 non-residents with 1 preference point, and then 1 non-resident with 2 preference points, all put in for as their choice 1. All right, you can see the total out 17 and 26 put in as their choice 1. You have the use stats also, and then you have it broken down who put in for choice 2, choice 3, choice 4, and then the total applicants right here. All right. And then as we look at this, we come over here. And we post draw success. Well, like we said, as first choice, the quota draw, we knew that everybody drew, right? So that was the post draw success, right? 22 non-residents with 0 preference points drew that tag. 13 with 1 drew that tag. 1 drew that tag. Same numbers over here as who did put in for your pre-draw applicants at first choice. Now what you'll see is the non-resident quotas and the resident quotas will start dropping as they put in for second and third, fourth choices. And that's just because of how the draw is. The draw looks at your first choice first, and then your second choice or your first choice on the second draw also, right? So as tags, became available through leftovers or people just didn't put in for them later on, as you see as the second choices and third choices and everything, you see the tags diminish. All right. So we look at another one here. All right. This code right here, elk, F for female, which is a cow tag. Again, unit 53. First season. All right. M for muzzleloader tag. All right. So for muzzleloader season, cow tag in 53, there was a quota of 20. All right. We come down here and we look at the stats again. 9 total non-residents with varying preference points put in as their first choice. 9 residents with various preference points put in as their first choice. We come over here and we look at the post-draw success. All right, we can see 8 out of 9 of those non-residents drew that tag, which that's actually pretty good. And then those on first choice for residents, 9 drew that tag. All right. And Chris, I'm trying to find your. All right, so Chris Harris, this is for the cow tag. If you were going to put in for this, these are your draw stats right now. Right, so this is first rifle cow tag. All right, quota was 20. All right, 23 non-residents with varying preference points up to 3 put it as their first choice. Only 7 drew. All right. So it looks like average is probably you need two or higher preference points for a chance to draw. You can see that. As you can see, None with 0 or 1 preference point drew that tag. The 7 to get to the 35% for non-residents. 3 of them had 2 preference points. 4 of them had 3 preference points that drew that tag. All right, and then for your second, this would be for your bull tag, Chris, if you're putting in for that. For first rifle, as you can see, 80 quota. Um, 121 non-residents put it as their first choice. Varying level of preference points all the way up to 13. Right out at 121, 35 drew that. None with 0 preference points. You see here 44 with 1 preference point put in for that. 16 out of that 44 drew that. So that gave about a 36% with 1 preference point.
It's not too bad. I mean, something.
Yeah, I mean, again, and you never know what's going to happen, right? Somebody could draw it and they turn it back in,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, 36% chance. That's actually pretty good for that unit. Actually, that's that unit 53 is doesn't get a whole lot of pressure from non-residents. It's actually pretty quiet in that area. And a lot of it's just hunted by locals. So that's not bad at all. And depending on, what the weather looks like and everything too, there might be a few that skirt across the private ranches and stuff too that we could get a shot at.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited.
So yeah, I would, for you, Kristen, what I would do is I would put this one as your first choice. And then put that cow tag as your second choice.
Okay.
All right. So put this code as your first choice. And
Yep.
then for your second choice, the only thing you're going to change is this M to an F.
Okay, cool. That's what I have written down. So that's perfect.
Yep. And then the great thing is if you don't draw, you still get a preference point,
Yeah.
So
and you don't have to put in a preference point code, right? It's
No.
not your first choice, right?
No, you don't have to. No.
Cool.
No, I do that just because I've gamed the system so many times. I know what I can draw off second, third, and fourth choices.
No, that makes complete sense. Thanks, bro.
Yep. Any questions on reading the statistics, and your draw results or anything like that? Awesome. All right, so now we're just getting to the outfitting stuff. So what can you expect when you come to camp? So we can pick up, if you are flying in, we'll pick up from Gunnison, Montrose, or Grand Junction. The great thing about where our camp's at, it is a drive-in camp, which is nice. We stay on one of the private ranches. It still is in outfitter tents and stuff, but we have a lot of access to different things, which is nice. You kind of get that backcountry feel, but you still get kind of some of the nice amenities and everything. We will hunt different federal lands. We will hunt private lands. We will take horses in some days. Some days we won't. We'll be by foot and truck. It just depends on what the herds are doing. Just understand, right now, I think we're sitting at around a 17% success rate for archery elk hunters. All right. It's a tough hunt. It's hot. It's miserable. A lot of times the elk are going to be, 10,000 to 13,000 feet in elevation. Be prepared to walk across rock scree, deep ravines, deal with, possible snowstorms in September to rain to 90-degree weather. Colorado and the mountain will throw just about anything at you during a hunting season that it can. In camp, what's going to happen is we have 3 tents. 1 tent is a chow tent, 1 tent is for the guides, and then 1 tent is for the clients. We will provide cots for you guys to sleep on. Please bring your own sleeping bag, pillow, any other type of comfort items that you want to bring. If there's specific snacks you want to bring, you're more than welcome. I just ask that, don't have those inside the tents because we'll just get overrun with mice and everything else. But you can leave them in the chow tent and the coolers and in the boxes and stuff and everything where nothing will get to them. You can help yourself to anything in the chow tent. All I ask is if you take the last thing, just let me know so we can, get refit and get some more stuff out there. Meal wise, how it's going to work is typically in the morning, we'll brew up coffee, hot water for oatmeal. We'll have breakfast bars and everything because we do get a pretty early start to get up into the mountains. We'll make sandwiches or, some type of wraps or anything for lunch. You take as many snacks as you want with you. I highly recommend it. And then dinner, we're going to have a big hot meal for dinner. Caloric intake, I recommend that, whatever your caloric intake is where you're at, double that when you get out here. All right. My normal caloric intake for where I live at 6,000 feet AGL is a recommended 26 to 2,700 calories. And that's just because of that altitude. You're working harder. Your organs are working harder. Everything's working harder to process oxygen, take that oxygen into your blood. So, we recommend that when you're out there on the mountain, you're working even harder to go ahead and just take as many calories in as you can. In camp for hydration, we're going to have Mountain Ops hydration packets. We're going to have Element salt packets. We're going to have Gatorades. We're going to have all the stuff to keep you hydrated. Even if you don't feel like drinking, drink. You're going to drink water. The last thing we want you to do is get out there and you start getting some severe altitude sickness or dehydration or anything like that on the side of the mountain. Nobody wants to end a hunt like that. We all carry first aid kits. You'll know the location of all of our first aid kits when we go out onto the side of the mountain, and that's just in case something happens to us. Those first aid kits you'll use with us. If you don't have any training on them, let us know. We can give you a little bit of training with them. All our guides will also carry some type of satellite phone or satellite messaging device. You'll also know the location of those on our packs in case, again, something happens to us. You can push the little red alert button or call the local rescue to make sure that we get out of there safe. During the day of the hunt, it can vary from, we're walking 12 miles or to we're sitting a wallow all day long, boring. We're waiting for that one chance, that one elk, bear, whatever to come into that area because we know they're in the area. If we're in the elk, we won't come back at night. We'll stay out and we will spike out. So we'll make sure that, we have all the proper meals, a peak refuel and the dehydrated meals and everything to keep you sustained through that time. If you don't have any horse training, that's fine. We're going to give you a crash course on that once you get on it. And we're going to give you enough knowledge probably just to hurt yourself a little bit. That's about it. But no, these horses are fine. They're good. They're relaxed up on the mountain. So if you're just deathly scared of them, or you're unsure about them, just let us know. We can spend a little bit extra time with you. But I'm not going to put you on an animal that's going to buck you off or anything like that. I save those for the guides, or myself to manage. And we only got one horse like that too. He's mine. He's kind of an asshole. Um, we talked about the wound policy. 1 second, Chris, I'll get to you. We talked about the wound policy. Just understand that, again, we want to hunt ethically. We want to make sure that we're not out there injuring a bunch of animals and just, taking a bunch of animals off the landscape that aren't needed. So if you do injure an animal, we do find blood. We will spend quite a amount of time trying to find that animal. Once I feel, or the guide feels, that we've spent enough time, we didn't recover that animal, we will punch your tag and we will call it, call a hunt. All right. Go ahead, Chris. What's your question?
When you say if we stay out there and we spike camp, do you expect us to bring our own tents, or will you have that stuff to be ready to roll?
No, we'll have all those tents and everything. You guys won't have to bring anything out there or anything like that. I'm gonna stop sharing this real quick.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, you guys won't worry, but we'll have all the personal tents and everything else and stuff out there, so you won't have to worry about that. We will tell you though, if because there's some areas I just know, like, hey, there's a good chance we're gonna spike out here, and we'll tell you the morning of, like, hey, bring your sleeping bag and everything. And the great thing about it is we'll pack a lot of that stuff on the horses, so you won't have to worry about having to hump that in on your back or anything like that. Once we down an animal, if you want to help process that animal, we're more than happy to teach you on how we do it and everything, and the easiest way that we've found how to do it. If you're just want to stay out of the way, that's fine too. We can get in there and we'll process that animal, and we'll get it out. Like I said, we're gonna take the 4 quarters, we're gonna take the tenderloins, we're gonna take the back straps, we're gonna take the rib meat, and we're gonna take the neck meat. If it is a bull, I always recommend that the client carries the head out. That's kind of your trophy and everything. If you don't want the head, we'll carry it out ourselves. If you want the hide, you need to let us know beforehand, because there's just a certain way that we process it, whether you're keeping the full hide or not. If you want to do a shoulder mount or anything like that, you gotta let us know beforehand. Again, because there's just a certain way that we'll take that animal apart. Once we get the animal out, we will have freezers in camp, so we can freeze the meat. All the meat will be deboned, and we'll have it separated into major muscle groups. But that's as far as the processing goes that we'll do with the animal. We do have different processors within the area that can, process that stuff for you, send it to you, whatever. Or, you can just put it on a cooler on a plane or in your truck and everything, and get it back with you. I do know a local guy, if he's not too busy. He does a really good job doing that stuff, and he's pretty cheap too. But most of your local processors that do this for a living, you're probably going to be looking at about $450 to process it, and shipping kind of goes back and forth on that. So just keep that in mind. If you're just going to do a Euro mount, most places charge about another $150 to $200 for just a Euro mount. Shoulder mounts, you're probably looking at more closer to $1,200 or higher if you're looking to do a shoulder mount. Any questions on kind of the camp and hunt expectations?
Yeah, real quick. Sorry, Mitch.
No, you're good, brother.
So for getting the meat back, if we get one, I guess we can use a local processing guy, like you're saying, and they would be able to package it and like ship it to us. Like if John and I, being in North Carolina, because I don't know if we'd have enough coolers or what the regulations are for getting it on a plane.
Yeah, no, they'll take care of all of that. You tell them, hey, I want 40 pounds of burger. I want, back straps in the steaks, whatever. You guys will figure that out. And then, yeah, they'll process it, package it, and get it sent to you and everything. And processors change all the time on what they do and the prices they want to charge and things like that. So, I don't want to tell you it's going to be exactly this much. That's what I said. Typically, it's around about $450 to process an elk. And then I've seen guys charge a lot of money for the shipping, and I've seen guys charge nothing for the shipping. So it just depends on that processor and what mood they're in, I guess.
I got you. Is that the same? So out there, is the processor the same as the taxidermist for the shoulder mounts and like the skull mounts you were talking about, or we'd have to get somebody different?
So for your Euro mount, typically the processor a lot of times will do those. But if you want to do anything hide on and super nice, then yeah, it's going to be different. Typically, you'll have to find a taxidermist for that.
Okay, and you have recommendations of probably who to go to for that, right?
I do. Yep.
Okay, cool. Hopefully, looking ahead, but
Oh yeah, no man, heck yeah, be positive. That's the way it is, man.
yep.
um, yeah, and then as far as gear wise, I did send out that gear list. Is there any questions on that gear? The biggest thing is have your hunting clothes. Have your archery equipment. Rifle, whatever your method of take is. I do have stuff in camp to fix guns and to fix bows and things like that, as long as it's not too crazy. If it's something beyond my knowledge, there are some shops locally that we can get stuff to and hopefully get it fixed and everything. I had a couple years ago, I had a guy come in with a crossbow and the thing blew up in his face, and we spent 2 days trying to fix the crossbow. And later I found out he'd never shot it before. He borrowed it from his buddy and everything else. It was kind of just a shit show. So just be familiar with your equipment, please, and make sure that you're sighted in and you're good to go with it. We will confirm zeros and pins and everything in camp just to make sure that you're comfortable and stuff. And I will check you out and make sure everything's good to go. Like I said, sleeping bag, pillow, any comfort items have that. Any hygiene items, please have that. I do have, try to carry some extra stuff in camp, but don't guarantee that, it's the greatest items and everything, or we have everything that you need. So any questions on equipment or items for camp?
So will you have like shower type capabilities if we bring like the scent-free soaps and things like that?
So there are showers in Crawford. You can rent them. I think it's like $8 or something like that to take a shower. Um, but man, don't get too concerned about like scent-free stuff and everything. Out here in the mountains, we play more thermals and winds and things like that. And it's kind of just understanding, the I guess physiology of the animal. Um, For instance, camouflage color, right? Everybody wants to talk about how great their camouflage is and everything. A lot of times I go out hunting and I'm in, some Wrangler ATGs and, a black shirt or something like that. Because I know elk, I know how their eyes work. I know the colors that they see well, the colors that they don't see well. So you play like that, and it's about knowing, how an elk smells too, and knowing that, you know, can you cover up your scent totally? No, there's just no way of doing that. So don't get your head wrapped around too much of trying to cover up, and use all the scent free and stuff like that. But there are capabilities if you wanted to shower and everything.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Are we gonna need to bring any like bear spray or anything?
Totally up to you, John. We have black bear here. I don't want to say they're not aggressive. I've been charged twice by a black bear. One was actually last year, walking down the trail. If you feel comfortable, or if it would make you feel more comfortable to have it, bring it. I will always have, and the guides will always have guide guns on them just in case, and bear spray. So if it's something that you just don't want to carry, it's extra ounces, extra weight, right? You don't have to carry it. We make sure that we carry all that stuff on us.
Okay, perfect.
I wish we had a beer charge us when we were out there, Mitch.
We saw them. They were just.
Oh yeah, they're out there a lot out there for sure.
Yeah.
There's tons of sign.
Yeah. Yeah, they're there. It was just so hot,
Yeah, bro.
I mean, we were still seeing them in end of November and beginning of December, which is like weeks after hibernation time. So
Well, there's lots of food out there still too, right?
yeah, tons of berries and water and everything this past year. So yeah,
How's it looking after this winter? That's like the big question I had. 'Cause I know like the winter before was pretty nasty. How was this winter out there?
We've had a really mild winter. So we'll see how the spring goes. We're actually supposed to get snow tonight. So yeah, we're getting again a late winter into spring right now. So we'll see what it does. The biggest thing is, where we're at out there. There's all those natural springs and everything. So there's always plenty of water for them, animal wise. But yeah, it just depends on how hot it gets and if those bushes, those shrub oaks will produce acorns and those berry bushes will produce berries is the biggest thing.
Right. Okay. Cool, man.
But yeah, I'll start heading out there in June. We'll set camp in August, and then it'll just be a grind from there, just trying to find them and hopefully narrowing them down and stuff. But John and Chris, man, I got a sweet spot. I think it's going to produce something as long as nobody else goes in there and screws it up for us. There's a pretty nice spot.
We'll keep everybody out of there then.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. But again, that area just doesn't get a lot of pressure from non-residents. I think last year I saw 3, maybe 4 out-of-state trucks in that area. And most of the people that come out here, they're not in mountain walking shape. So they're hunting right off the trails and stuff and everything. Where we're gonna dive in a little bit deeper.
Sounds
yeah,
good.
let's do it.
So, and then Chris Harris, I mean, we'll probably hunt those same areas and everything. We'll try to, if you don't draw that elk tag, we'll chase bear again that first season.
Yeah, man, I'm down. Like I said, I mean, I was in pretty good shape last year. It'll be even better this year. So anywhere you want to go, stay in that area, or I'm down for going to get something. Hopefully, we draw that elk tag and we can go chase something down.
Yeah, I got a spot for you that's kind of in that area. I don't know if you remember that Aspen Grove that was up top that I told you was yeah, we'll go up there and but the only bad thing is we can't get horses up there. That's the only bad thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was pretty gnarly trail for a horse to get up. But I mean, we just pack it down a couple times. It's not too far. I mean, it's farther than it looks, but it's not like miles and miles,
No, and I think if we can get it down off that Aspen Grove and just get it down into that drainage, I can get horses probably there. So
that makes sense.
we just have to drop 400 yards or so down that scree field, and then we should be good.
Yeah, we're going down isn't always easier than going up, but usually it is.
Yeah. So
I'm excited.
Be good. Fellas, any other questions? I know, like I said, I threw a ton of information at you guys. A lot of it is just there, because I want you guys to learn and I want you guys to know about hunting out here and next year come out here by yourself and be confident to do it by yourself. And continue to come out here and just have a great time in Colorado.
Dude,
Yeah,
this
this
has
was
been
awesome.
super informative, man. I really appreciate all of this. It's been really great.
Yeah, we're good. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, I have a question for you in terms of non-resident licenses or tags for Colorado, if they have a program for disabled veterans like other states have, and how that changes the process since it seems like everything's done online.
So for non-residents, non-resident disabled veterans, they do not. They did this year. They implemented a new policy, and to be honest, I haven't done a deep dive into it yet. But it's for disabled veterans, but it's through nonprofit organizations, from what I understand. So it's almost like you have to be sponsored by a nonprofit organization, and then you get a special hunt. It falls in line kind of with like the youth hunts, and things like that. They've added the disabled veteran to that. Last time I checked online, which was a few weeks ago, they didn't really have a whole lot of information on it, and I haven't just dug really to figure it out yet. Now, if you are a resident in Colorado, you do get a lifetime small game and fishing license. And you just got to apply for that. It's like one piece of paperwork and then your VA stuff. And then, yeah, they'll issue you a lifetime small game and fishing license.
Awesome, thanks.
Yep.
And
And
then
just, I'm sorry, go ahead, Morgan.
no, go on.
No, I was going to say, shoot me your information. And that way we can keep in touch. And the more I can deep dive into it, look into it and everything, I'll pass that information on to you.
Yeah, sure. It's not pressing either. I just want to consider all options.
Yeah, 100% agree with you.
So looking into trying to plan out where I'll be moving around geographically, probably second season. Do you have any recommendations for resources that are reliable, open source resources for typical movement patterns for the elk herds out there?
Yeah, to be honest, Onyx does actually a really great job of putting those migration patterns on there. Um, there's I don't know if you've heard of ruggedmaps.com. They put out some GMU maps and they'll put the elk migration patterns on there and stuff. And then there's a local map place here in Colorado, and I don't have it with me. But I think it's Colorado Maps or gmumaps.com, something like that. But they each year will issue or print out the GMU maps with the summer and elk migration patterns on it and everything to pull. But those are a lot of the resources that I use. I get a little old school sometimes. I always have, some topo maps and everything with me with that stuff on it, just so I can kind of see and everything. And when we get out there and start scouting, it's cool, you're finding, all the game trails and you're finding the scat and the prints and everything along those migration patterns. So they're actually pretty damn accurate is what I've found. So they're doing a pretty good job of pulling that information.
Okay, perfect. I love Onyx anyway, so
Yeah, Onyx is a great tool and they've done a hell of a job putting the Western states together and stuff with that.
final question for you. I'm used to moving around the Cascade Mountains up in Washington State and Oregon, and then moving around the Appalachians.
Yep.
Rockies, I don't have a whole lot of experience with. How steep of an elevation transition is it between ridge lines and draws as far as like packing out meat goes?
Man, I think the worst one I've done was over a 4 mile trek. We gained 6,000 feet elevation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Carrying
it's
the meat, that'll be
it can be pretty brutal. But and it's I mean you've been in the Cascades. Appalachian's a little bit different, but a lot of that can be very deceiving. You look down into a draw or a drainage and you're like, oh, I can drop down in there and come back up, and the next thing you're 3-4 hours later, you're realizing it probably wasn't the greatest idea. So yeah, and like I was saying, you can, 1 minute be crossing a beautiful aspen grove, and then you're standing on the edge of, a mile of scree. It's at a 60-degree slant that you're trying to cross, and you're just wondering how the animals got across that shit. But so yeah, it's all kinds of different terrain. Just perspective, our base camp is at about 6,500 feet. We'll drive or ride horse up to about, I'd say 75, 8,000 feet. And then we can go another probably probably about another 3,000 feet up in elevation by walking.
okay.
So it can vary so much,
Getting into second season, the snowfall out there, does that present enough snowfall typically for there to be risk of slides? Is that something you have to be mindful for? I'm just trying to figure out for packing what type of gear I'm gonna.
No, we've been lucky minus that crazy winter in the Northwest. Second season hasn't been bad. We typically haven't seen any snow until we've gotten into probably like end of third rifle, beginning of fourth rifle in that area.
Okay.
So yeah, it hasn't been bad at all. But that winter in 2022 was pretty bad. We were 18 inches in camp. Yeah, in second rifle. Yeah. So we had to pull camp. That's when I had my north camp up in 14. But we had to pull camp and we just had to get out of there because there's just no way. And it continued to snow all through April.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, that's all my questions. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. And like I said, Morgan, shoot me your information and everything so I have it. And I'll drop here. You can send whatever to that email right there, Morgan. And yeah,
I don't have a chat box showing up on the browser for me right now. You willing to dictate it out and I'll jot it down real fast?
yeah, it's Rugged Mountain Outfitters at gmail.com.
I gotcha. Appreciate you.
Yep. Yeah, any questions you got, man, just shoot them to that email and stuff. And then just to let you guys know, I'll be leaving here in a few days. We have a huge turkey hunting trip we're taking, so we're going to be on the road for 2.5 months. We'll be in 27 states hunting turkey. So if you have a question, you shoot it to me. Please just be patient. It might take me a couple days to get back to you with an answer or contact or anything. Same if you text me or call me, just leave a message or just be patient with me and give me a few days to get back. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mitchell, I got a couple questions for you if you don't
Yeah.
mind. I'll actually be going out with Morgan, doing kind of a old Army buddy get together, go out, try to get something.
Cool.
When we're doing applying for tags, do you recommend applying as a group, or would we have better chances applying alone?
A lot depends on if you already have preference points or not. If both of you have 0 preference points, then yeah, I mean, you can apply as a group, and see what happens. If one of you had like 15 preference points or something like that, then I would say, yeah, put in, for it, whatever. The only thing with putting in for a group, just understand that, you guys, your application is going in as one, right? So if one don't get it, none of you get it. But if you put in separate, there still might be a chance that one of you, pulls a tag or something. So at least one person has a tag. But I highly recommend just look at them draw statistics, because there's a lot of units out there, even first rifle, which is all draw, where you can draw, a rifle tag, cow tag, or something like that with 0 preference points. So definitely dive into that and do some research on it. Because I think I think it was Harris. It was your group, wasn't it? It was like 3 or 4 of you drew cow elk tags last year.
I think everyone did, man. I think
Yeah.
everyone drew an elk tag, and I mean, all had to get back because we didn't have access to land.
Yeah, because of that. I mean, because you guys drew them in that northern unit, right?
That's right, yeah. Because it was like it's basically right when you were saying, "Hey, we might not have access." They did the draw, and we were all like, "There's no way anybody's gonna get anyway." And then all of a sudden, like everyone likely because everyone already pulled their stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or whatever. So it makes sense how it happened. But like when I saw, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be awesome," and then I saw, I'm like, "Oh, this is not awesome."
Yeah, yeah. There's no elk up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always a chance why that that you guys can draw that first rifle, and everything. But again, just remember, are you guys looking at rifle hunting? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it'll be for a rifle.
yeah, just understand second and third rifle are over the counter rifle units, you know. So even if you don't draw, you know, you still have the opportunity to come out during second and third rifle and get an over the counter tag and chase them that way.
That makes sense. Do you see more luck in second or third rifle then?
More in second rifle. So what we're seeing right now is, you know, climate change is a real thing, right? Is it as bad as what people think it is? Probably not. You know, the Earth is warming up. Yes, Earth is always going to warm up, right? We just came out of a glacial ice age. Um, so, but what we're seeing now is, you know, our rut is getting pushed further and further into the fall. So typically, you know, 5-10 years ago, our season was mid-August is when it started for elk archery. And we were seeing ruts happen then, right? And then as it, you know, climate changes happen and, you know, things are shifting, we were staying warmer through September. You know, they shifted the dates to where September 2nd was start of archery. And then we started seeing, you know, the rut happen about mid-September. And then now, kind of what we're seeing now is that rut almost happening in that time frame between end of archery and beginning of first rifle. So for like last year, we had like this weird little mini rut end of August, beginning of September, where they were kind of screaming and working, and then shit went quiet, and it was quiet until end of first rifle. And then we started seeing them moving again and doing weird stuff. So, you know, weather has a lot of impact on it. So if I was choosing between the over the counter, I would choose second rifle. Just because if there's a late rut, you know, they're coming off that late rut and they're super tired. Um, and they're going to be bedded hard, you know, into second, into third rifle. If it's an early rut, there's a good chance that they're going to be bedded, you know, through that dead space between the rifle season and archery seasons, and they might start coming around into that second rifle where you're seeing them stand up again and start feeding a little bit. So I think, you know, second rifle, first rifle time frame is probably the best. Or if you can, you draw that fourth rifle tag, because that's when they're all herding back up into big herds. And it's just easier to find them and follow them and everything and chase them a little bit.
Gotcha. And then last question I had was for rifle on average, how far out would you say people are taking most of their shots?
We always recommend 0 at 200. Know what it does at 100. And be comfortable out to 400.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. You bet. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, you know, if you have anything come up, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, phone call, whatever. Like I said, I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. As we get closer, we get back from this turkey trip and everything, we'll be in contact more and answer more questions and everything, and definitely get you guys prepared to come out here and either hunt with me or hunt on your own. You know, as long as you get out here and get in the outdoors, it's all I care about.
Hey, thanks, Mitch, for putting all that good info. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's
man.
always good. Appreciate you.
Yep, anytime.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, thanks,
Real,
Mitch.
real big help. And we'll be talking soon.
Yep, sounds good, guys.
All right. Later, brother.